Excuse me.
That's a bad outfit.
Easy, miss. I've got you.
You've got me. Who's got you?
They were gods on screen, but behind the cape, something darker was unfolding. One would lose everything in a single moment. Another died under haunting circumstances. And one story still feels impossible to believe. What really happened to the Superman cast? And why do their endings feel so tragic? The God who asked for everything, Marlon Brando. Jor-El, Superman's father, the white robes, the crystal. You will travel far, my little Kal-El.
You will travel far, my little Kal-El.
Marlon Brando Jr., born April 3, 1924 in Omaha, Nebraska, the greatest actor of his generation. A Streetcar Named Desire on Broadway, On the Waterfront, The Godfather, Apocalypse Now, 2 Academy Awards. By the time Superman came along in 1977, Brando was 53 years old, 300 pounds, and openly contemptuous of Hollywood.
And I tell you that we must evacuate this planet immediately.
The Salkinds, the producing brothers, wanted him to play Jor-El. They told him this was the most expensive film ever attempted. They needed his name. He had one demand: money, lots of it. They paid him $3.7 million for 13 days of work.
You know, when I first came on the picture and I heard how much money Marlon Brando was paid for it, I was really upset.
Plus 11.75% of the gross. The most ever paid an actor per day at that point in history. He was on screen for less than 20 minutes. The Salkinds tried to sue him later, when the movie was a global hit, to claw some of that back. They lost.
The smile that you got in the morning in direct proportion to the salary you were getting. 2 teeth for $200,000, 10 teeth for $1 million, and you're getting $2 million.
Then Brando turned around and sued them for $50 million. He claimed they'd undercounted the gross. The case dragged for years. He showed up late every day. He refused to learn his lines. He wanted the dialogue printed on cue cards, on Kal-El's diaper, on Susannah York's forehead. Anywhere. He suggested playing Jor-El as a green bagel. The director, Richard Donner, sat him down and talked him out of it for 2 days straight. Cary Elwes, 16 years old at the time, had one job on set: lure Brando out of his trailer with food. Brando died July 1st, 2004, 80 years old. Pulmonary fibrosis, liver cancer, diabetes. The greatest of them all, on an oxygen mask at the end. His son Christian had died of pneumonia at 49, 3 years earlier. His daughter Cheyenne had taken her own life in 1995. He outlived his children. The father on the farm, Glenn Ford. Jonathan Kent, the adoptive father. The man who finds the baby in the cornfield and raises a god. The one who has the heart attack and dies in Clark's arms.
And there's one thing I do know, son, and that is you are here for a reason. I don't know whose reason, whatever the reason is.
Gwilyn Samuel Newton Ford, born May 1st, 1916 in St. Christine, Quebec, Canadian. Top box office draw of the 50s. Gilda, The Big Heat, Blackboard Jungle. He was ranked the #1 male star in 1958. By the time Superman came along in 1977, Ford was 61 and his career had quieted down. He'd been cast in television movies and B-westerns. He took the small role of Pa Kent because Donner asked him to, personally, on the phone. He's on screen for maybe 10 minutes. He breaks your heart in every one of them. The cornfield scene where he runs across the road and clutches his chest. Glenn Ford rehearsed that fall for 6 hours. Behind the role was a man who had romanced an entire generation of Hollywood.
Martha, are you thinking what I think you're thinking?
We could say he's the child of my cousin in North Dakota.
Rita Hayworth on Gilda, a 40-year on and off affair according to his son's biography. Judy Garland, Bridget Bardot, Loretta Young. His son Peter found his diaries after his death. Glenn had documented affairs with 146 different actresses, with dates, with locations, with notes. He never destroyed them. He retired in 1991 at 75. Heart problems, small strokes that left him frail. He stopped leaving the Beverly Hills house. His 90th birthday gala at the Egyptian Theater, May 1st, 2006. Glenn was too sick to attend. He'd recorded a message on tape. The audience watched him on a screen in his bedroom, smiling weakly, and clapped for a man who couldn't hear them. He died at his Beverly Hills home on August 30th, 2006, 90 years old. The heart that gave Pa Kent his death scene gave out for real. The mother who refused the cure, Susannah York. Lara, Superman's biological mother, the one who watches her infant son rocket away from a dying world.
I'm very curious about people, and that's somebody that's, you know, I wouldn't ordinarily meet.
Susannah Yolandi Fletcher, born January 9th, 1939 in London, the blue-eyed English rose of the swinging 60s. Tom Jones, A Man for All Seasons. They Shoot Horses, Don't They? Oscar nomination. Best Actress at Cannes for Robert Altman's Images. She was the kind of beautiful that gets you cast in everything and respected by no one. She fought that her whole career. Behind the porcelain face was an actress most of America never quite caught up with. She wrote screenplays, she wrote children's books, 2 of them. She did one-woman Shakespeare shows in small theaters. She played Hamlet's mother. She co-starred with Glinda Jackson, with Peter O'Toole, with George C. Scott. By the late 2000s, she was 67 years old and ripe for a Maggie Smith, Judi Dench-style late Renaissance. Critics were saying it. Friends were saying it. She knew it too. Late 2010, the diagnosis came. Multiple myeloma, bone marrow cancer, aggressive. The doctors recommended chemotherapy immediately. She refused. She had a contract. She'd signed on to do Ronald Harwood's play Quartet at the Royal Albert Hall in December, and she would not back out. The other actors were depending on her. The audiences had bought tickets months ago. She finished the run. She walked off the stage on the final night, took the bow, went back to her dressing room, and went straight to the Royal Marsden Hospital in London. January 15th, 2011. She died there, 6 days after her 72nd birthday. She never told the audiences in those final performances she was dying. They found out from the obituary the next morning. The next one was a child star who outlived almost every actor of his era. The boy who couldn't stop crying, Jackie Cooper. Perry White, Don't Call Me Chief, the Daily Planet editor with the cigar. John Cooper Jr., born September 15, 1922 in Los Angeles. He was 9 years old when he was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Actor for a film called Skippy in 1931, the youngest Best Actor nominee in Oscar history. Still is. 95 years on, still is. He lost to Lionel Barrymore. Cooper fell asleep on Marie Dressler's shoulder during the ceremony. Behind the gruff Perry White was a child who'd been used up by Hollywood before he turned 10. There's a story he told in his autobiography. The title alone tells you everything. Please Don't Shoot My Dog. On the set of Skippy, the director Norman Taurog needed Jackie to cry on cue. He couldn't. Taurog was Jackie's uncle, by the way. So the uncle sent a security guard backstage with orders to shoot the boy's dog. Jackie heard the gunshot, heard a guard say, "I'm sorry, kid," and broke down weeping. The cameras rolled, they got the take, the dog was fine. 9-year-old Jackie didn't know that for hours. He went on to direct hundreds of episodes of 70s television. MASH, The Rockford Files, White Shadow, The White Shadow, and won 2 Emmys. Perry White was almost a retirement role. He played it in all 4 Superman films. He retired in 1989. Said, "I'm 67. I've worked 64 years. That's enough." He outlived his wife Barbara. He outlived 2 of his 3 daughters. His son Russell took care of him at the end. He died May 3rd, 2011, 88 years old. His lawyer said he just kind of died of old age. He wore out. The sidekick nobody knew was an Oscar actor, Ned Beatty. Otis, Lex Luthor's bumbling henchman, the dropped boots in the elevator, the Otisburg on the map. Ned Thomas Beatty, born July 6, 1937 in Louisville, Kentucky. The busiest character actor in Hollywood for 50 years. Behind the comic relief was an actor who'd been in some of the most serious films ever made in America. His debut was Deliverance, that scene, the one nobody can talk about, in 1972. He was 35 years old, no agent, no credits. He was in All the President's Men. He was in Robert Altman's Nashville. He was Oscar nominated for Network in 1976. You have meddled with the primal forces of nature, Mr. Beale, and I won't have it, for one scene. 5.5 minutes of screen time and a Best Supporting Actor nomination. Acting students study that scene frame by frame. Then Donner called him in 1977 and asked him to play a doofus. He said yes immediately. He needed the money. He had 8 kids by then, by 3 different wives, and college tuitions piling up. Otis is what most of America remembers him for. Not Network, not Deliverance. Otis with the Mr. Luther, 40 more years of work. Toy Story 3. He voiced the strawberry-scented bear Lotsa-Huggin, who turns out to be the villain. He was in over 160 films and TV shows. They called him the busiest actor in Hollywood, and he was. He never turned a script down. June 13th, 2021, 83 years old, died in his sleep at his Los Angeles home surrounded by family. The old, hard-working actor's death, exactly the way he would have written it. 6 weeks ago, Valerie Perrine, Eve Teschmacher, Lex Luthor's girlfriend, the one in the leopard print, Miss Teschmacher, Valerie Ritchie Perrine, born September 3rd, 1943 in Galveston, Texas. Army colonel's daughter, a military childhood, Japan, Germany, Florida, every base on the map. She ran away from home at 19 to be a Las Vegas showgirl. She was the first woman to appear topless on American network television in a 1973 production of Steam Bath. 8 years later, she was in Hollywood, with 2 Oscar movies on her resume. Behind that bombshell exterior was an Oscar-nominated actress most of America forgot to remember. She was Oscar-nominated for Lenny in 1974, Bob Fosse's biopic of Lenny Bruce, where she played his stripper wife, Honey. She won Best Actress at Cannes for it. The Academy nominated her too. She lost to Ellen Burstyn. In 1969, before she was famous, she was dating the celebrity hairstylist Jay Sebring. He invited her to a small dinner party at his friend Sharon Tate's house in the Hollywood Hills. She didn't go that night. The Manson family killed everyone there. Sebring was murdered with a leather thong tied around his neck. Valerie spent the rest of her life saying that no was the luckiest decision she ever made. She lived. She got Lenny. She got Superman. She got Eve Teschmacher. In 2015, she was diagnosed with Parkinson's. She fought it for 10 years. By the early 2020s, the disease had drained almost everything she had, financially, physically. Her brother Ken, also a Parkinson's patient, watched her decline. She died March 23, 2026, 82 years old. Her caretaker had to start a GoFundMe to pay for her burial. Her last wish? Forest Lawn. Her healthcare costs had taken every penny she'd earned across a 50-year career. That was 6 weeks ago. James Gunn tweeted her picture. The Superman family said goodbye. The next one is the worst story. The house in Santa Fe, Gene Hackman. Lex Luthor, the greatest criminal mind of our time. The bald cap, the land scheme, the kryptonite around his neck. Eugene Allen Hackman, born January 30, 1930 in San Bernardino, California. 2-time Oscar winner, The French Connection, Unforgiven, The Conversation, Mississippi Burning, The Royal Tenenbaums. He retired from acting in 2004 at 74. Said he was done. Moved to Santa Fe with his wife, the classical pianist Betsy Arakawa. Started writing novels. He published 5 of them, mostly historical fiction, mostly to good reviews. Behind the Lex Luthor smirk was a man who walked away from Hollywood at the top and meant it. He turned down millions of dollars in roles for 20 years. He told one interviewer in 2008, "I just got tired of it." For 20 years, they lived quietly in a private compound on a hill above Santa Fe. 3 dogs, books, walks, bicycle rides into town for coffee. They were rarely photographed. February 11th, 2025. Betsy went into town for errands, came back to the house. Inside that house, somehow she had been exposed to hantavirus, a rare rodent-borne disease, almost always fatal, contracted from droppings in enclosed spaces. By the next morning, she was searching her computer for COVID symptoms. She didn't pick up when the doctor's office called back. Hantavirus killed her sometime that day. 65 years old. Gene was in the house. He had advanced Alzheimer's. The medical examiner believes he didn't understand his wife was dead. He may have walked past her body for days. He couldn't drive. He couldn't call. His phone use had stopped months earlier. His pacemaker recorded his last heartbeat on February 18, 2025. He'd been alone in the house with Betsy's body for 1 full week. A maintenance worker came by the property on February 26 to do routine work. He looked through a window. He called 911. They'd been gone for 2 weeks. 2 of the dogs survived through the doggy door. The 3rd was dead in a crate near Betsy. 95 years old, $80 million estate, 13 months ago. The Last Emperor, Terrence Stamp. General Zod, kneel before Zod. The black gloves, the blue eyes, the most quoted villain in superhero film history, Terrence Henry Stamp. Born July 22, 1938 in London's East End, tugboat stoker's son, grew up during the Blitz. He could remember German bombs falling on his street as a 4-year-old. Oscar nomination for his very first film, Billy Budd, in 1962. Best Actor at Cannes for The Collector in 1965. He was the most beautiful man in British cinema for 10 years. Julie Christie left him. Gene Shrimpton left him. He told a friend the 60s broke his heart in a way he never recovered from. Behind that Arctic stare was a man who'd lived 3 different lives. The angry young Brit of the 60s. The quiet exile in India in the 70s, studying with a guru named Osho, more or less giving up on Hollywood. He thought he was done with acting. And then Donner called him. Zod brought him back, made him famous in a way Billy Budd never had. His career restarted at 40. The Limey, The Adjustment Bureau, Wanted, Star Wars Episode 1. He played the Galactic Republic Chancellor opposite Liam Neeson. Priscilla, Queen of the Desert in 1994. Stamp played a transgender woman. The role earned him a BAFTA nomination and changed minds about what kinds of stories he could tell. He never had children. He married once at 64. It lasted 6 years. He told an interviewer in his 80s he'd been alone most of his life and made his peace with it. He wrote 4 memoirs. Late in his 80s, his health quietly went. He moved into a care home in southeast London. August 17, 2025. He died there, 87 years old. His family asked for privacy. 8 months ago. The next ones are the survivors. The 3 who are still here. Sarah Douglas as Ursa, Zod's second in command. The Kryptonian woman in black. She's 73 in 2026 and still working. V, Conan the Destroyer, Babylon 5, voice work in animated DC films into the 2020s. She got typecast as a villain after Ursa and quietly turned that into a 45-year career playing every queen, sorceress, and ice goddess Hollywood needed. She runs an acting workshop in Los Angeles now. Married once, divorced, no children. Says she has no regrets. Jack O'Halloran as Non, the silent giant Kryptonian, the 3rd villain Zod brought to Earth. Behind that role was a 6'6" former heavyweight boxer. 34 wins, 21 losses, 17 knockouts. He fought George Foreman in 1973. Foreman knocked him out in 5 rounds. He fought Ken Norton. He retired from boxing in 1974 and went straight into acting because Burt Lancaster told him he should. He's 80 in 2026. He published a book in 2010 claiming his stepfather, Albert Anastasia, ran a mob hit team that killed Jimmy Hoffa. The book caused a small media storm and quietly went away when nobody could verify it. He still gives the occasional interview at fan conventions in California, signing photos for $30 apiece. Mark McClure as Jimmy Olsen, the Daily Planet's cub reporter. The bow tie. He was 20 when he got the part. He played Jimmy Olsen in all 4 Reeve Superman films, plus Supergirl in 1984. The only actor to play Jimmy that many times. He had a cameo in The Flash in 2023. They brought him back for 1 scene as a callback. He's 68. Lives quietly in California. Married, 2 daughters. 3 of the cast still walking around in 2026. The next one isn't. The Woman on Canyon Mountain, Margot Kidder. Lois Lane, The Reporter, The Girl on the Helicopter, Can You Read My Mind? Margaret Ruth Kidder, born October 17, 1948 in Yellowknife, Canada. Her father was a mining engineer in the Northwest Territories. They moved 12 times before she was 12. She grew up tough, restless, smart, beautiful in a way that scared her teachers. She'd known something was wrong with her mind since she was a teenager. She tried to take her own life at 14. Nobody helped her find a name for what she was carrying. She went to college. She moved to New York. She got Sisters in 1972, Black Christmas in 1974, The Amityville Horror in 1979. Then Superman in 1978 made her one of the most famous women in the world. She was 30. Behind the role was something doctors wouldn't diagnose for another decade. In 1988, the word came: bipolar disorder. She refused lithium. She tried alternative medicine. She tried diet. She tried meditation. In 1990, a car accident on a Canadian film shoot left her partially paralyzed and $800,000 in debt. In April 1996, working on a memoir, a computer virus destroyed 3 years of writing. Something inside her broke completely. She walked the streets of Glendale in a manic episode for 4 days. She cut off her own hair with a razor. She hid in someone's backyard, convinced people were trying to kill her. A homeless man recognized her, helped her. She credited him with saving her life. She thanked him publicly for the rest of hers. She got better. She moved to Livingston, Montana in 2005. The wolves came down from Canyon Mountain. She left meat out for them. She wrote. She rescued horses. She finally found a balance. May 13th, 2018, 69 years old. The coroner ruled it self-inflicted. Her sister Annie spoke for the family on the record so others could find help. If you're struggling, the 988 Lifeline is open every hour of every day. The Man Who Couldn't Fly, Christopher Reeve. Superman, Christopher Reeve, born September 25, 1952 in New York City. 6'4", Cornell. Juilliard, where he roomed with Robin Williams in their advanced acting class. Only 2 students that year, the 2 of them. They stayed best friends for life. 24 when Donner cast him out of 200 actors. He was unknown. He weighed 188 pounds and looked like a graduate student. The producers wanted to put fake muscles under the costume. Christopher said no, asked for a trainer. 6 weeks later, he weighed 220 pounds, all muscle. He did most of his own flying stunts. The part defined him so completely, he spent the next 17 years trying to escape it. He turned down American Gigolo, Body Heat, Lethal Weapon, Pretty Woman. He wanted to be taken seriously. May 27, 1995. Culpeper, Virginia, an equestrian event. His horse Buck refused a triple pole jump at the last second. Christopher went over the top of the rail. His head hit the ground first. C1 and C2 vertebrae shattered. Surgeons reattached his skull to his spine. 42 years old. He would never move below his neck again. He couldn't breathe without a ventilator. He thought about ending it. He told Dana to let him go. She came to his hospital room and said, "I'll be with you for the long haul. You're still you, and I love you." He chose to live. 9 years. He directed films from a wheelchair. He wrote 2 memoirs by dictating into a microphone. He testified before Congress on stem cell research. He ran the Christopher Reeve Foundation, which has now raised over $140 million for spinal cord research. Robin Williams flew to him every time things got dark, did stand-up routines at his bedside. After Christopher died, Williams said, "I lost my brother." October 10th, 2004. A pressure wound on his back went septic. Heart failure, 52 years old. Dana, 44, never smoked a day in her life, was diagnosed with lung cancer 6 months after burying him. She died March 6, 2006. Their 3 children lost both parents inside 17 months. Will was 13. The foundation kept going. The kids run it now. 11 names: Marlon Brando, Glenn Ford, Susannah York, Jackie Cooper, Ned Beatty, Valerie Perrine, Gene Hackman, Terrence Stamp, Margot Kidder, Christopher Reeve. 3 lost in just the last 15 months. Which one hit you the hardest? Tell me in the comments. And if you stay subscribed, there's a 12th person in this story. The one who directed it. The one Brando tortured for 4 months and Reeve thanked at every award show. He's still alive in 2026, in his 90s. Richard Donner is gone, but his wife Lauren Schuler isn't. I'll tell you that story next week.